When a marriage breaks down, when trust shatters and communication turns into a constant minefield, the instinct is to scramble and force a quick repair. But deep relational collapse requires something much harder. It requires a dead stop, a period of profound separation and dormancy. This phase is season 4, or marital winter. The old patterns have to die. Both spouses must retreat to do the quiet work of individual spiritual rebuilding. You stop working on the marriage, stepping away to focus entirely on rebuilding your own spiritual foundation. But stepping back creates an immediate, painful vacuum. The affection, validation, and security you used to get from your spouse are suddenly gone. You are left in a vast emotional wilderness, experiencing a severe psychological and spiritual starvation. That starvation is exactly where the danger lies. When you are starved for connection, you become highly susceptible to psychological attacks. The adversary steps into that wilderness, offering false, immediate solutions designed specifically to sabotage the repair process. In the wilderness, the first attack targeted physical starvation, commanding stones to become bread. In a collapsing marriage, that hunger is emotional. When you are starving for a sign that things will be okay, the adversary offers a stone disguised as survival. You reach a point where the silence of the separation becomes so loud that any relief, even an unauthorized one, feels necessary. The desperation to ease the anxiety of being alone overrides the discipline of the wait. This is the moment you pick up your phone and fire off an anxious, pressuring text message. You aren't reaching out because you're ready for a healthy conversation. You're reaching out because you're desperate to make the hunger of loneliness stop. But a stone doesn't become bread just because you're hungry. Forcing an interaction with a spouse who isn't ready to connect doesn't create intimacy. It confirms their fear that you aren't safe yet, pushing them further into the distance. The next attack focuses on the need to prove something. On the pinnacle of the temple, the challenge was to cast yourself down, to force a divine intervention, to prove your status through a public spectacle of power. When you feel powerless or ashamed in your marriage, a voice tells you that being patient looks like being a doormat. You begin to believe that you have to force an outcome or manufacture a dramatic change just to prove you still have control over your life. This is where the harsh ultimatums and emotional blackmail begin. You demand that they forgive you on your schedule, or you use guilt to corner them into a commitment they haven't yet earned the capacity to make. This attempt to override your spouse's agency is a structural failure. By trying to control them out of fear, you prove that you are still operating from a place of insecurity rather than strength. You end up destabilizing the very foundation you're trying to build. The final offer is the most expansive, a vision of all the kingdoms of the world. It's a shortcut to glory and happiness that completely bypasses the grueling work of the wilderness. It's the whisper that your happiness is waiting somewhere else, with someone else, or that you've tried long enough. It presents a fantasy future where you are already healed and appreciated, without ever having to endure the winter of self-mastery. Under this spell, you mentally check out. You stop investing in the roots of your own character and start seeking outside validation. The covenant begins to feel like a cage rather than a foundation for your future. You trade the difficult, sacred work of architectural rebuilding for a cheap, immediate illusion. The marriage doesn't just stall, it vanishes because you stopped believing that the invisible work under the soil was worth the effort. Surviving this level of emotional starvation requires a disciplined protocol for the wilderness. You have to learn to manage the hunger without letting it drive your behavior. When the urge to text, control, or run away hits, you must pause and name the hunger behind it. You have to ask yourself, am I acting for relief, for power, or for escape? Instead of trying to extract nourishment from a spouse who is just as hungry as you take that need elsewhere. You anchor your stability in a divine source that doesn't fluctuate based on your spouse's mood or readiness. Think of a seed in the winter. It doesn't move because it's inspired. It moves because it is being nourished by the soil. It pushes through the weight of the earth 1 millimeter at a time, long before anyone can see the progress. If you were to dig up that seed every morning to see if it was growing,
you would kill it. The anxious demand for proof, the constant check-ins, and the need for immediate results is exactly what ensures the crop will fail. By staying steady in the cold and refusing the shortcuts, you protect the dormant season. You allow the silence to do its work, trusting that the resurrection of the marriage isn't something you manufacture. It's the result of the environment you choose to maintain.